Hello, welcome back to Loki's Librarian. If you are new here, welcome. I am your librarian, Katrina. On Sundays, I do this thing called Books and Booze, where I review a book and mix up a cocktail. We have 5 Sundays this month, so I'm starting with a fiction book, making this week's book The Swordmaster's Matter by K.W. Lee. The accompanying cocktail is a Youth and Treachery, which is 1 ounce of Patron Silver, 1 ounce of Gentian liqueur, and 1 ounce of dry vermouth. So let's do this. I am jumping right into it because the review is not very long because, as usual, I'm circumspect with fiction books to avoid any spoilers. And I have to, by definition, spoil some. I have to let you know who the characters are, right? So at its heart, this book is a political intrigue. All right? It is at its... It's set in a fantasy land, but it's mostly a political intrigue with some, let's say, real-world applications, all right? It starts with Ullin of Castletide, who has been sent to see what has caught fire in a local village and find that the entire village has been slaughtered. See, I didn't even buy this bottle of Patron. This bottle of Patron was left over from a party we had when we had people over, and I said very specifically, don't bring alcohol. I have a ton of alcohol. I don't need any alcohol. And somebody brought this big-ass bottle of Patron Silver that apparently they no longer wanted and left it with me. So I have a thing of Patron Silver. Oh, God, that smell. All right. All right, let's hope the rest of this drowns it out. So the entire village has been slaughtered. Now, with them are basically useless lordlings, all right? They're sure they're the shit because they're all knights or knights in training. But Ullin is like, if you were as awesome as all that, you would have been out here defending these people because that's literally your job. And instead, they're all dead and you're here mocking them. So why don't you guys set about burying the bodies? And because he is the king's man and the king's swordsmaster, he has the ability to do that and to make them dig the graves. So he does, and God bless him for it. You should be put in their place when they're being dumbasses. Yeah, I like that he made them dig the graves. In amongst the bodies is one that clearly does not belong. All right, Ullin quickly determines that this must have been one of the attackers, although why the body is mutilated is beyond him because none of the villagers remained alive to exact that sort of vengeance. But the body is clearly mutilated, like the eyes are cut out, tongue missing, stuff like that. It's straight up. And he's like, I don't know why this guy was mutilated, but something more must be going on here. And then, he's the king's man, so he takes all his information to the king because the king needs to know about this. He needs to know that his people are being slaughtered, and this is not the only village. There's been more than one. This is just the only one that had knights available who should have come out to defend it. So, let me shake this up. Wow, that is a bright yellow. I'm going to think that's a Gentian. It looks like lemonade, sort of. You do a lemon twist to garnish. And I actually had a lemon in my fridge, so we're going to do a lemon twist here. Lemon twist to garnish. Right in. From there, Ullin goes to his king, Tagir of Ivanwell. Ivanwell is the whole kingdom. Castletide is one of the provinces in the kingdom. And explains what has happened. And he says, look, we're in trouble, man. We're not sure what's going on, but we know that a lot of our people have been killed. Now, Ivanwell is in trouble, and not just because of the useless lordlings who think they're hot shit. It's just in general, they had a war several decades prior and they just didn't quite recover from it. It's not quite indolent, but it is falling to pride. Like the knightly orders, rather than picking the most able, pick amongst them the most noble lineages. And this, of course, causes problems. This is not promotion by meritocracy. It's promotion by nepotism. I think most people know how that goes. At least we in America have strong opinions about nepotism, right? There's been whole articles about nepo babies in Hollywood, etc. This ends up working to Ullin's favor, however, because Tagir decides somebody needs to go on a diplomatic to the neighboring kingdom of Andalon, which is who they'd had the war with. Tagir, his wife, sets down her foot and says, nah, you're not going on this. This is dangerous. Send Ullin. He's your man. He's well capable. He's a knight. He's a swordmaster. He's able to defend himself. Send Ullin. So Ullin is being sent on this diplomatic mission to the neighboring kingdom of Andalon. And Ullin needs an assistant. So he spends a couple of days observing the selection process for the knights in training and sees that the most promising among the young combatants is overlooked for the simple fact that he is not from a blooded family. He's from the rather poor province of Ivory. It's like the poorest province in Ivanwell. And so he takes Emery with him. And it's a two-man party. King Swordmaster Ullin of Castletide and Emery of Ivory, who is his assistant apprentice, and they head out to Andalon. And, along the way, he's insisting that Emery up his language skills so that he's able to speak in Avalon. So that's basically all they speak, is he's tutoring him that. He's tutoring him in, biographies and geographies and swordplay, of course. So he becomes a very able person very rapidly over the course of this journey, because what else are you going to do when, 12 hours a day on a ship between sleeps? Now, we know that Andalon and Ivanwell were enemies at one point. That's mentioned a couple of times. We learn a little bit more about that because during the travels, Ulan and Emery meet up with nobles who fought on Andalon's side, and they kind of reminisce as honored adversaries. And there's no bad blood between them. They're just like, hey, we fought on opposite sides of the war, but let's talk now. And they part as friends. And no spoilers, no spoilers. No spoilers. Anyways, they part as friends. Since the kingdoms have been at peace for a long time, they're able to just to talk about what happened and not be bitter about it. The war was long enough ago that while Ivanwell is falling to pride, those, useless young lordlings, Andalon is falling to sloth, if you will. All right, sloth and indolence. They don't really want to do anything. They don't want to work. They feel like they're big enough to rest on their laurels at this point. Now, the exact nature of the diplomatic dispatch is not quite revealed. I mean, part of it is. I would strongly suspect, because he requests assistance of arms from Andalon. We know about that because the Queen Regent deflects. She's like, well, what about asking these other kingdoms? What about asking Fazar? What about asking these people? And Ulan's like, well, I mean, he's kind of like Randy in South Park reaching out to California asking for help to hold back the tides of Jersey Shore.
We're just a small town. We can't stop New Jersey on our own.
We are very sorry, but California cannot afford helping you at this time.
All right. He's like, well, first they're going to come for us and then they're going to come for you. So really it's in your best interest to help us because you're next in line. The Queen deflects. Now, I know this is fantasy, not Middle Ages Europe, but I would be very surprised if that dispatch didn't also request a marriage of alliance, because Tagir had a son that was probably about marriageable age. And we learn really quickly that Andalon also has a princess that is about the right age. So a marriage of alliance would have been logical, but that was not actually said in the book. I think my brain just kind of assumed it because I'm like, well, that would make sense. Princess, prince, they're both about the right age. Let's just marry this up and get an alliance going, That means we're definitely not going to fight in the future if everybody's, related. Let me try this. Well, that's not my favorite. That's not awesome. Ugh. None of this is good. The book was amazing. The cocktail, not so much. I'm not even sure how to describe it. The good news is the vermouth and the Gentian liqueur kind of drown it out. It kind of drown out the Patron, which is good because the tequila, me and tequila is not a happy memory. Okay, anyways, where am I at? Oh. As they enter the capital of Andalon, Ulan quickly knows that there are undercurrents the Queen Regent does not appear to be aware of. And he's very good. He goes about and he's talking to the people. He's talking not just to the people, but to the nobility, right? He's making contacts with them. I don't want to say friends, but contacts with them and with the religious class. And he's getting to know all of them. And the religious class likes him quite well. I'm not sure. I think the political class felt they had him neutralized. And really, he was more neutral in keeping his opinions to himself, but he wasn't neutralized. All right, the political class definitely underestimates him. I think he's just one man, which he is just one man. The Queen Regent does not appear to be aware of these undercurrents. Maybe she is, but is ignoring them. The Queen Regent herself is not Andaloni. She's a political match from Fazar, which remains regent. She remains regent because the prince is in training, right? He's not quite old enough to step into the throne himself. And as part of her own legal rights, part of her diplomatic marriage, she's allowed to have her own Fazarian warriors to act as her guards, and she's been importing them to do exactly that. And it's upon that right of having her own warriors that the political class is sowing discontent. And this is what Ulan becomes aware of, and the queen seems to be ignoring. The political class is claiming the Queen Regent is importing her own guards while ignoring the safety of her people. And to counteract that, rather than attempting to bolster the existing city guards, which would make sense because, hey, we're all Andaloni, let's bolster up our own city guards, keep the money here. Hortus of Timberley, one of the political leaders, has been quietly importing warriors from the Augur people. I'm probably mispronouncing that. It's Augre is how he's spelling it. It's a barbarian race far to the north who are mostly traveling to Andalon via ship. Mostly. I mean, basically, he's importing the Mongolian horde to act as bodyguards and policemen. Now, Ulin sends Emery to do some investigating and is able to draw a link between the ogre and the unidentified body of the village attacker back in Ivanwell. Nope, does not get better with the second try. That's one I will not be. Nope, does not get better. Bummer. Guess I should have had water up here to keep me going. Oh well. Review's not that long because, again, don't want to spoil anything. Oh yeah, he draws a parallel between the ogre and the unidentified body of the village attacker back in Ivanwell. Mostly it's the clothing. They're wearing a very unique animal fur as a cloak, and it's not something that's seen anywhere else. So it's not like it's hard to say this must be related, right? But before he can bring this to the attention of the queen, he's basically placed under house arrest, and Emery is made to go into hiding. Now, the house arrest comes about because they were set upon after a social event and defended themselves. And rather than, dying like they were supposed to do, they killed their attackers, who were the ogre. And the ogre see this as a matter of honor because, hey, how dare you kill our guys instead of just dying yourselves? Yeah, he's placed under house arrest almost for his own protection because at this point the ogre are everywhere. They're the house guards for many of the, for most of the political class and for a lot of like the wealthy merchants and stuff. And now they're these imperial wardens. They're roaming the city as basically sanctioned police gangs. And yeah, they want to kill Ulin. And if they find Emery, they'll kill him. So Emery's forced into hiding, and he's on the run, doing his best to not stand out, which is hard because the Ivanwellians grow very tall. Think Vikings, they're growing over 6 feet tall. Blonde hair, which really stands out in a city that's mostly dusky and dark. But he manages it because he is resourceful, and Ulin of Castletide taught him well. Yeah, the intrigue and the political quagmire just grows deeper and deeper with this broad cast of characters that all kind of comes together in short little bursts of defiance against the political class. All right. I don't want to say too much about that because spoilers, and I cried when it happened. It was another one of Ulin's honored adversaries. This one he had known personally during the war. He had caught her as a prisoner of war. And they parted respectfully when the war ended and she was returned or I think traded. I think they were traded as like a hostage exchange. But they meet again in the city and again rehash old times. Still mad respect for each other. No, it's not a love match. It's just respect for adversaries who are now friends. And she goes down fighting. That's all I want to say. She goes down fighting. The old. So this intrigue and political quagmire goes deeper with this broad cast of characters that all come together in an epic battle at the end when Hortus of Timberley, thinking he has the wolf in a collar, finds out he really only has it by the tail, and the wolf turns to bite him. And it's pretty glorious how that happens. Now, like I said at the beginning, I am circumspect when reviewing fiction because I don't want to spoil the story for anyone. Like nonfiction, I will spoil all day long, but fiction, like the joy of reading fiction is unfolding the story as each page turns. So if I tell you all about it, then you'll be like, well, I don't know if I need to read that because she already told me the highlights, right? I will say that Lee is one hell of an author, right? The book is 660 pages long, and I read 460 of those pages last Saturday and Sunday. I just tore through it. The pages just kept turning because I kind of had to keep seeing what happens next. His character descriptions are such that I could see, like in my mind's eye, he describes Olin as this very old, grizzled, scarred, beat to shit, capable swordsman. And for some reason, I keep picturing like Liam Neeson in my brain when he says this. And I'm not young Rob Roy Liam Neeson, but like now, old, grizzled, firm in his ability. He knows what he's capable of doing. Absolute master of the sword, sure of his ability to kill every motherfucker in the room if needed, and with the absolute courage to face overwhelming odds every time. And each character is drawn just as clearly, and it allows you to picture in your mind, making it very easy to keep track of the character as the epic unfolds. And there's a lot of characters. Lee helpfully includes a cast of characters at the end of the book, and never once did I need to refer back to this to say, wait, who was that guy again? What is this? I knew who they were. Like, I think I referred back to it when I was writing this review so I could make sure I was spelling Timberley right, and that was about it. It's complete. If anybody's mentioned by name in the book, they're going to be in the cast of characters at the back. And while it is fantasy, there are parallels to be seen in today's world. Some of them are subtle, some of them are not so subtle. I'll stop there to avoid spoilers. At this point, this is the only book Lee has written, but I do hope it keeps going, because I would be very interested to see what happens next between the kingdoms of Ivanwell and Andalon, and to see where they go with the ochre threat. And that's it for this week. I really enjoyed this one. I would highly recommend it if you like fiction, if you like political intrigue, if you like fantasy that fits into any of those categories. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys next Sunday. Bye.